Hello. All right. Thank you, Gladys. That was an emotional roller coaster for me about worrying about my health first and then knowing I'm in good hands. So thank you so much for that, startups. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Prateek, and I'm the corporate partnerships manager at Plug and Play, specifically on the financial services and the health segment. And today, on the financial services side, we are going to be covering two parts to our agenda. The first is the Fireside Chat, a lot easier than the morning one panel. And after that, we will then move on to the startup pitches as well, specifically focusing on the financial services as well. Right. So I would like to introduce first the Fireside Chat itself. And it's about partnerships without borders. How corporations and associations empower Southeast Asian startups, and what we are doing and what we can do about it. So without further ado, I would like to welcome the panelists. First, I have Mr. Yusuke Sugiyama, head of Singapore Nippon Life X. Then I would like to welcome Mr. Shadab Tayabi, President, Singapore FinTech Association. And finally, I would like to welcome Mr. Manav Narang, Director and Head of Financial Services at Plug and Play APAC, and recent Head of India. Thank you.
Right. Hello, can you hear me? Great. Thank you, everyone. This fireside chat will be followed by startup pitches, so please stay back for that. So Plug and Play, as I like to joke, is the Tinder of corporate startup matchmaking. But sadly, it's not as easy as swiping to get these folks together. And both sides are actually very frustrated. Startups want things to happen yesterday, versus corporates say, okay, we'll do it maybe next year or next decade. So it's very difficult to understand the other side, and with companies who are not from, let's say, Singapore, who have an innovation focus here, it gets even more complex. So with this, I wanted to demystify that a bit, focusing on how an agency and association like SFA could help South Asian startups expand, and then an innovation lab like Nippon Life outside its home country could do that. I'm Manav. As Prateek mentioned, I'm heading the financial services vertical for Plug and Play. And let me ask my experienced panelists to do a quick introduction.
Thank you, Manav. First of all, pleasure to be here. And the audience looks quite attentive, so it's always good to have attentive audience. My name is Shadab Tayabi. I am the elected president of the Singapore FinTech Association, the National Industry Association that represents the whole fintech ecosystem in Singapore. Just to give you a bit of a color, the association has over 700 plus corporate members, and we have fintechs as well as financial services institutions, including some of the law firms and consulting firms as our members as well. I'll provide a bit more detail afterwards. Thank you.
Sugiyama-san.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Sugiyama, please just call me Sugi. I'm heading the Nippon Life X Singapore. So the Nippon Life X is the innovation arm of the Nippon Life Insurance Company. That is the traditional life insurance company in Japan, one of the biggest. And they have an age of 135 years. And from this age, you can imagine how the traditional style we have as a Nippon Life. But recently, we have established Nippon Life X. That is kind of like a lab, as Manav have mentioned. So the Nippon Life X, the reason why we established is that now, even in the life insurance industry, the situation is changing quite a lot. So the life expectancy of the citizens in Japan is becoming longer than before. So in that sense, the life stage is also quite different from the old style. So in that sense, maybe the risk which is existing in the each life stage is also quite different from each other. And in addition to that, of course, even in Japan, a lot of people already utilizing a lot of the digital services. So in that sense, in case if we just stick on the old-fashioned model like an agency channel, then maybe it cannot match the expectation of our customers. So that's the reason why we have established the Nippon Life X to create maybe the new way to distribute our life insurance product, or moreover, maybe to create the new types of the sense of comfort or the sense of the safetiness, which can be cover the insurance product itself. And the Nippon Life X Singapore is one of the branch office of the Nippon Life X, which have established in the 2022. Yeah, thank you.
See, that's the problem with sharing the questions with panelists beforehand. He already answered my next question. but let me frame it a little better. Yes, so Nippon Life X is in Singapore. You also have similar outfits in Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
in Europe.
Yeah.
And not just you, I think Tokyo Marine, Daiichi Life, even non-Japanese insurers as well, so they do that. What is the role of yourself and Genevieve, who's sitting there in Nippon Life X, or for that matter, for an outfit outside the home country? What is your KPI? What do you define as the role for such a lab?
Okay, thank you so much. So as maybe most of you guys already know, Japan is kind of like a relatively early developed country, right? So in that sense, the most of the people already gotten used to enjoying the kind of like an old-fashioned model service. So because of that, it is quite difficult in some sense to create the innovation or digitalization in Japanese market. So in having said that, in case if we focus on Singapore, the country which we have a base as a Nippon Life X, if we define the Singapore, I believe that it is quite innovative country. So maybe there is 2 points from our point of view. So number one is that here is kind of like a hub of the SEA market. So from this point of view, a lot kind of like the global players, including the financial institutions or tech companies gathered here and doing some kind of collaboration with each other. And from those kind of synergies, a new business model is launched. And in addition to that, I think the stance of the government is also quite good. They are quite positive with the innovation. So let's imagine the MAS. So the MAS is hosting some kind of event, including maybe the Singapore FinTech Festival in coming month. And inside those kind of a conference, they are showcasing their practices or their POCs, right? So, and that kind of POC is utilizing the new high technology, including maybe the blockchain, maybe AI, and also Malaysia, the green fintech. So I believe those kind of feature is quite unique in all over the world. And as I told you, the quite new business model is happening in here. So our ultimate goal as a Nippon Life X is to bring back those kind of the new business model into the Japanese market, hopefully having a tie-up with the maybe the startup companies or kind of like tech players in Singapore.
Great, thank you. And then coming to Shadab, every country has a fintech association, I'm sure. But I must say the amount of work or the kind of reach SFA has is very much unparalleled. You guys work very closely with Elevandi and other players to organize SFF, which is again one of the world's largest fintech festivals. So, and you just mentioned that thousands of fintechs and corporates are working with you. What value does SFA, or for that matter, generalizing it a bit, fintech associations provide such members?
First of all, Manav, I feel like a foster panelist or a step panelist because I didn't see the questions before. So I have no clue what you're asking. So I'm definitely not coming in prepared in that perspective.
So one person was prepared, one was not prepared. So balances out.
That's been the story of my life, so that's fine. So let me just put up some perspective there, right? Let's start with the basics, right? Why is Singapore so focused on fintech? Why has Singapore been so focused on fintech as a country, as a nation? I think it all started with the fact that we have been a global financial center. And for us to maintain that level of being the global financial center, we needed to make sure that we are also playing in the big leagues as far as fintech goes. Because fintech, when it started, it was all about disruption. It was all about how we are creating efficient models, providing efficiency in products and services, easy access to financial products and services, which could have taken the lunch away from the traditional or incumbents. We all know it has not been the case. That is not how fintech has evolved. And we all know where we are right now, which is a lot of collaboration happening with the financial institutions and the fintechs all together. Ultimately, it's the customer that benefits, be it an individual customer or a corporate customer, but it has all created more and more efficiency in the way financial services and products are being delivered. I think that's where Singapore's fintech companies have also played a very important role in that. Now, coming to the question of how we've been able to achieve where we are right now. And I think we have to be continuously, very, very paranoid about how we continue to maintain that status, is the fact that it's a collaboration across multiple stakeholders. So it's not about just fintechs, it's not just about financial institutions, it's not just about the customers in isolation. It's about various stakeholders coming in together, which is where the regulator and the policymakers play a very important role as well. So we've been fortunate enough to have the foresight of our collaborative regulator all the way from 2015 onwards, 2016 onwards, when the FinTech Innovation Group at MAS was created with the appointment of our Chief FinTech Officer, Swapnendu Mohanty, and how that has evolved in terms of supporting the ecosystem. Of course, at our community level, we set up our own association. We got the founders together. FinTech companies came together to sort of rally or advocate for their demands and asks and requirements. But overall, that whole so-called ecosystem came together with keeping the right level of mutual benefit in mind. So it's always been about how do you grow the pie instead of how do you take the smaller piece of the pie. And that's where I think we've had I would say we've been fortunate enough to have a very collaborative ecosystem working together. So SFA, the association that I represent, we are also working very closely with the regulators and policymakers, and there is a very strong amount of trust. And that trust hasn't come in lightly or in a jiff. It has happened over the years because we have been down in the trenches with them. Our founders have been down in the trenches with the regulators, trying to understand the real challenges, the real problems that we as a country face in terms of being able to grow and expand certain business areas, and how it can have an impact on the incumbents, and working together by keeping the risk in place for all parties at the same time, by considering the risk for all parties in the same time. So that has been that real important secret ingredient, if you may ask, that's the trust. And at the association level also, we predominantly focus on 4 areas. I want to touch the first 2, which I've put into this conversation. The first one being the voice of the Singapore FinTech community, so being the advocate. So that's what we do. Our 8 subcommittees across payments, capital market services, RegTech, green and sustainable FinTech, all these various 8 subcommittees have a direct conversation with the various departments of MAS and also the policymakers such as MTI or Enterprise SG or EDB in that regard. It's all about, one, how do we provide the right feedback for regulation changes, and second, how do we work together for market development together. The second pillar that I want to touch, that's the first pillar, which is advocacy. Second pillar is about creating efficiencies in business growth, which is where our mission trips, our overseas engagements come into picture, be it in collaboration with the other FinTech associations. We have an alliance with 9 other FinTech associations of Asia. It's an APAC summit, so it's quite apt to mention that. We have an Asian FinTech alliance as well, in which we have regular cadence with the other FinTech associations to see if we can help the companies which are trying to expand in other countries. Case in point, an example from last year, we collaborated with the Australian Trade Commission, FinTech association there, as well as the Enterprise SG here, to send 6 of our FinTech companies to Australia who already had plans to expand their business there. And after that 10-day program, 4 out of those 6 actually ended up setting up their offices in Australia. Because once you are part of these mission trips, which come with a very curated itinerary, and you have access to the regulators, the policymakers, the trusted service providers in the jurisdictions. On an average, we run about 5 mission trips every year. This year, we have already completed to Japan, Malaysia, UAE, Saudi, and we have one more, and Brazil as well. And there were easily between 12 to 15 companies that were part of these delegations, and hopefully we'll have more companies expanding their business overseas as well at the back of it.
Yeah, great. I mean, that is quite a lot you guys do. So coming to Sugiyama-san, how is Japan as a market for non-Japanese startups to expand into or grow? What Shada mentioned, you did a mission trip to Japan. So how, when you are speaking to startups and they're like, hey, the market is Japan, let's see if it's a good fit and we want to quote unquote, adopt you. So how is Japan as a market for them?
Okay, thank you. That's a quite good question. So from my point of view, from my experience, I believe there is three challenges which we have to cope with. So the first challenge is language, and the second one is maybe the business custom, and the third one is maybe the regulation. So in case if I touch one by one briefly, as for the language, as you know, most of the Japanese cannot speak English fluently. Although they can speak a little bit, but still they're feeling some kind of stress in case if doing the meeting with the company and abroad, to be honest. So in that sense, in case if there is same kind of a company even in the Japanese market, then it is quite logical that they want to choose that one, right? And second challenge is that difference in the business custom. So as for, maybe this is not specific matter in Japan, but the most of the time, people who is facing with these startups are not the people who have right to make the decision. So most of the time, they have to ask some kind of approval from the hierarchy people, right? So in this moment, it is quite important for them to create some kind of logic to explain to those kind of hierarchy people. And to create those kind of logic, it is quite important to get the abundance of the information from the startups. So maybe this might be the big hurdle for startups from maybe in some situation because it is, they might feel it is quite detailed, right? Yeah, it is too much to offer those kind of information to the big companies. So maybe this is also one of the hurdle, I will say. And third one, regulation. Even though if there is some startup companies who are having the good performance in, let's say in Singapore, in case if we move those kind of a solution directly to Japan, because of the regulation, maybe it cannot be incorporated into the Japanese market. So it is quite important for the Japanese companies to know whether we can directly incorporate that solution or not. But in case if that law is have to be covered by the Japanese company, it is quite tough because most of them don't have those kind of experience in past. So maybe those are the three obstacles. But having said that, I think the timing is quite good. So because Japan is now again now facing a quite big problem, that is the low birth rate and also the aging society. So yeah, actually in some sense we are struggling with growing our economy. So maybe the breakthrough is in the innovation. So that's the reason why now the Japanese government is quite promoting the big companies to invest into the startup companies. And in addition to that, some of the local cities in Japan are trying to invite the startup companies in the abroad to their cities. Yeah. So yeah, the timing is good. So in case if we can tackle with those kind of three challenges I raised before together, then it might be there might be a high possibility that the startup companies can come into the Japanese market and make a success together.
Great. So Shadab, you mentioned 5 mission trips and you've been doing it for multiple years. And I was speaking to your VP about the plan for next year and there's so many happening more. What are the trends? Why would you choose, let's say, Brazil versus Mexico? Or when you're deciding these things, what's going on in the team's mind? What are the trends and how does this actually take place?
So just to add to that, we did 5 this year, but we rejected 3 also. And it's a lot to do with, one, of course, like any other business opportunity, it's an opportunity that's created. Somebody needs to qualify it, and then you look at whether it can really bring benefit to the members as well. For us, the simple way of qualifying it is do a survey with our members, and we gauge interest from them. And based on that, we are able to say yes or no. I have to also admit that there is a good amount of government grants available as well. So So our members, which are, which can be startups, scale-ups, or we also have unicorns as part of our members as well as the some of the large financial institutions. One of the largest financial institutions globally in the card space, they joined our mission trip to UAE as well, as an example. So it's a mix of these companies, but the bottom line remains: do you have a potential business case or area to explore? You have to also understand the dynamics of the Singapore ecosystem. More than 60% of the companies are B2B fintech companies, and quite a few of the founders here I can see as well who are in the B2B space. The reality is, we are a small nation. There's only so much domestic market we've got. So by nature of that, majority of the fintech companies are B2B fintech companies. And what these mission trips actually do is to provide you with a very, I would say, high level of access, which if you go on your own, and I have done this, trust me, I mean, I've grown businesses for 2 fintech companies in the region while sitting in Singapore, like even all the way to Australia and New Zealand. It's not easy, when you're trying to do, and I have done so many of these day trips to Indonesia, to Thailand. I mean, going to Bangkok in the morning and coming back at night because I want to sleep my own bed, I've done that many, many times, and some of you will attest to that as well. It's not always the most pleasant one, not because of the travel, but because of the meetings that you need to set up. And you may have like senior people saying, yes, that I'll join, but in the end, they'll drop out and get somebody very junior who has no clue why that person is in that meeting. So you have to really set the tone again, and that really becomes a major hassle. One of the feedback we got after we did our UK business trip last year, mission trip last year, was the kind of access the relatively smaller and medium-sized companies had was unparalleled. One or two of them actually gave me this feedback, that if we were to go and find a time with the CIO of Barclays, or the CTO of COO of HSBC, it would have not been possible for us, just because we are going in as a Singapore delegation with support from Enterprise SG, which is also one of the largest government entities as well. We are able to get access to these kind of people, and that really opens up doors. I mean, you already have the first meeting done with the most senior person that you could get in that space, and you are able to push it through. And that is also reflected in the way SFA has organized itself as well, because we also understand that as an organization, when we mature, we have to look at engaging with a broader ecosystem, not just financial services and fintech, because it has its application across the broader economy. And hence, we are fortunate enough to have Minister of State Alvin Tan becoming our patron this year, and we have a strategic advisory council all with 2 very senior public and 2 very senior private leaders joining as well. So the reason why I'm bringing all this is for you to understand that there is that whole of nation approach to this specifically that we are doing, whole of ecosystem approach to this we are doing, and SFA is the conduit and the player to actually find those various stakeholders to come together.
Okay, a question for both of you, and anyone can answer first. Any advice? What do you think these startups need to have in mind when they're looking to, go into a market across borders?
Maybe I already tell you about my mindset.
Of course, join SFA if you're in the fintech space.
That's a humble plug.
That's the number one requirement. But I would say be realistic. So if you are a 3 or 4 man startup and you are trying to get into a large financial institution, I'm talking from fintech space specifically, it will be difficult. So you need to find strategic partners to go out with. I mean, find one of the big 4s, find one of those large consulting firms, the Accentures of the world or the IBMs of the world. They will help you get those doors open for you, and you don't have to worry about the risk and governance that the FIs have to go through to onboard you. So be realistic, be very strategic in terms of how you're approaching, because you will actually burn all your cash by the time you're getting to a large FI. So you may want to focus on tier 2s and tier 3s of emerging countries as well. You asked me about Brazil. How is trying to find business for an FI in Brazil different from finding business in Malaysia? Ultimately, you are a digital platform. It doesn't matter. So if you're able to get to the right people, you might be able to expand as well. So geography doesn't really play a very, very big role as well. But at the same time, you need to be very mindful of the challenges on the other side as well if you're a B2B fintech company. So I would say be realistic. That's the most important aspect. And do not really, be too ambitious from that part of.
Sugiyama-san?
Yeah, so as I told you, maybe I could list those kind of three challenges, as I already mentioned. And maybe in addition to that, maybe there's kind of like a similar concept, but I think the communication is quite important. So even though if there is a language barrier, or even though if there is some kind of a difference in the custom or the regulation, but still in case if you continue for the communication, catching with the coffee or having dinner together, just the example, but then maybe you guys can feel some kind of the challenge or some kind of like a pain point of those big Japanese companies themselves. And then maybe at the glance, those kind of a hurdle cannot pass within the moment, but as time goes by, maybe the situation of those kind of companies is also changing. And also through the communication, you can catch those kind of a change of the situation. So this kind of a communication for in some long span might be needed.
Yeah, great. I think we are exactly on time. A very quick wrap up. Innovation is borderless. Companies are doing that, setting up innovation labs outside. But when you're trying to go across borders, be realistic, be mindful, know the culture and the obstacles, and most importantly, join SFA. Thank you so much, everyone. Please get a hold of Shadab and Sugiyama-san outside for any further discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that enlightening presentation and conversation, and not so much of a thank you to Mano for summarizing it for me, taking away some time from me there. But very importantly, if you're alone, not strong enough, go ahead with someone, go ahead with a partner, get to be a part of an ecosystem, and you will open a lot more doors. Next up, we have the startup pitches from the financial services sector. We have 6 amazing startups presenting to you. And without further ado, bringing up our very first startup from our very own portfolio, File AI. File reading to automate document analysis, extract data, and streamline workflows for finance, research, legal, and more. Take it away, Christian. All yours.
Thank you. Hello. Okay, I'm Christian, representing File AI, and we're presenting with Plug and Play since a while, so we're partners since a long time, and it's been a very successful journey for us. But more to the company we're building with File AI. So we are really a boring company because we are focusing on file processing at large scale. File processing in the enterprise, to be very precise there. And what exactly are we doing? So we're taking paperwork as well as files and manual handling from you and from your employees, and we're doing it automatically and basically adding a little bit of AI flavor to it, okay? If that doesn't sound new to you, and you heard this before, yeah, there's like tools out there like OCR, RPA, and so on. Well, that's not it, okay? So we're really moving the needle on this. And just to look at a few stats, so not only do files within your company have a lot of errors, but also your employees are spending about 50% of their time on creating and updating those files, okay? No matter what that is. I'm not talking data entry only. I'm talking about opening a file, looking up some information, and taking it out of the file, plugging it into something else, okay? So this is exactly what we're specializing in. Oh yeah, and by the way, 10% of time is still also spent on data entry. Now, to be very specific around where we sit, if you are using right now RPA or OCR, or if you're hiring a team around file processing, stop it, really, because that is not going to help you. It's going to be very expensive, and you're going to invest a long time into getting to a result that is satisfactory. So we are with File AI, we're building a product here that will take away a lot of that research that you will have to do, and also it'll be optimized for any file within the organization. So not only one project in one department, you can actually roll this out across multiple departments at the same time. It is pre-trained. It takes anything from an Excel all the way to a PDF or an image. What have we done and where are we? So we're processing over 100 million pages a year at this point in time. We're all over APAC. We have sales teams in Japan, really fitting to that panel just now. And also, of course, in the Southeast Asia region. We're currently expanding into Thailand, Malaysia, and we're in Australia too. The next stop for us is the US next year. So these are the sectors we're working in and the sort of teams we're working with. Very strong in accounting. Many accountants use our platform. Many of your businesses actually already run on us behind the scenes if you're outsourcing accounting to an accountant. And in banking, we've worked on many use cases. Of course, there the volume is very high. That is very good for our tool. Yeah. So I just wanted to show these use cases, and the time's running out. But thanks for having us here, and we'd love to talk to you later after this event. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christian. I hope that reduces everyone's workload for their filing, and I think they should get an honorary secretary just because of the work they are doing. Next up, we have Honest, a global B2B2C personalized e-voucher incentive platform, leveraging fintech and behavioral AI to enhance consumer engagement. Bring it on, Honest.
Hi, everyone. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer and the co-founder of On Us, and my name is Honest. Yeah. Okay, for you, On Us, we are a fintech-enabled and data unlock company. What kind of thing are we doing? We are using the fintech and AI to reference the customer loyalty for now and future. We use our fintech to transform the loyalty for incentive and connect the dots. How does it do it? First, we have the digital rewards, like the digital voucher, the voucher that normally you receive. And second thing, the second layer is we are able, to integrate the digital voucher with the credit card payment, and I will talk more later. And third is we are able, to use our On Us card to serve, the exhibition and as well as, the loyalty hub, a lot of loyalty program. On the right side, you can see that left-hand side, we connect, banks and insurance company, as well as, card scheme, miles, global travel, as well as a lot of loyalty rewards. And for the card scheme, for the banks and insurance, they always, distribute a lot of incentive to you, and they have a lot of ping pong. And I will discuss more for the next slide. And you can see that on the right-hand side, we connect a lot of different merchant in different category. Okay, this is the ecosystem that currently we are building. We are using the digital voucher because the marketer will give a lot of digital voucher, especially the bank and insurance, and they have a lot of financial wastage. I would like to reward you, but at the same time, you don't use it. And then the money go to the merchant, didn't go to the marketer who would like to reward, the customer. Second is there's a lot of broken journey because no one built the ecosystem to connect all. We use the fintech, to build, the ecosystem there. And we found that there's a lot of fragment and useful data that no one can keep track. And our uniqueness is we are able, to provide a seamless digital incentive redemption because we got the merchant network already for the marketer to choose. Second is we are able, to provide the zero-party data as well and enhance the customer loyalty. This is we use the fintech to build the ecosystem like this, and we are the B2B e-voucher platform for free-party ecosystem. What kind of, footprint landscape that we tap on? First, you can see that digital voucher is a huge market already. We already proved that in the banks and insurance company. Most of the bank and insurance company are using our service already. Second, this is the thing that we planned to show on the Singapore FinTech Festival, which is the patent FinTech, which is integrate the e-voucher with the credit card payment. That means that in order to enjoy the benefit of this credit card, you must use voucher, you must use this credit card. third, we're able to expand into the exhibition. No one integrate the fintech with exhibition as well. Fourth, we have a lot of data that we can share. Okay, this is the customer journey. No apps you need to download. And then this is the customer that we have. Okay, this is the award that we win as well. This year we win the Visa Accelerator Award. Come to visit us on the Singapore FinTech Week. We will show our demo to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honest. More rewards are always welcome as someone who loves collecting my miles. Next up, we have iFarmer. They help farmers maximize the profit potential through access to finance, advisory, and direct-to-farm commerce using data and technology. The floor is yours, Fahad. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you all had a good lunch today, thanks to Plug and Play, of course, but the real appreciation goes to the millions of farmers who are producing the veggies and everything else. But of course, they're often underlooked in the mainstream economy. And that is what we're trying to change. So we are trying to unlock the potential of millions of farmers, starting from Bangladesh, which is roughly a $50 billion annual agriculture market. But the problem is that these $50 billion are very, happens through microtransactions and often cash-based, and of course, manual processes and the papers and everything. So which makes it very difficult to aggregate this huge amount of money and see it at one place. Now, this $50 billion agriculture market is actually dominated by about 20 million smallholder farmers. The challenges that they face is most of them have to rely on high cost of capital. As a result of that, they often buy non-quality agriculture products like seed, fertilizer, and nutrients. They don't really get advisory services. When do I sow my seeds? When do I apply fertilizer? So they have to rely on the act of nature instead of getting forecasts and data and stuff. And of course, they lose about 40% of their revenue because they are relying on numerous number of middlemen between the farmer and the end consumer. 80% of the transactions in the agriculture value chain in Bangladesh is cash-based. And that is the problem why it is very difficult to serve these farmers, because most of their transactions are not even there anywhere. Be it a financial institution or an insurance company who wants to serve farmers, they just don't get this data anywhere, and which makes it very difficult to build products. Now at iFarmer, we're basically building a one-stop solution for smallholder farmers. Currently, we are serving about 200,000 farmers, but as I said, there are 20 million. We're now at 200,000, so there's a huge upside to look into. What we provide farmers is with low-cost finance, good quality input, advisory, and better market access. So we have a phygital model where we have physical locations combined with mobile applications, which helps farmers to unlock financing. We also work with 18,000 retailers serving more than 4 million farmers in Bangladesh. Now, everything is connected, and data here is the key. As I said, 80% of the cash transactions are in cash, which makes it very difficult to provide any service to the farmers. Now, all of our services are, of course, as I said, there's a phygital model, so there's a physical place where farmer needs to go, because most farmers still don't use tech, but we also have tech-enabled ecosystem, which helps us generate data. We did 88 million in revenue. Last financial year, we have financed about 52 million US dollars in financing till date. And we're raising our Series A of 5 million, so happy to have a conversation at some point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fahad. I mean, people who feed us should not go hungry, right? That's the most important thing. They need to have their money coming in. And next up, we have Richard from Contract. Contract is a financial services company that simplifies complex stock information for retail investors, helping them make actionable decisions. Bring it on, Richard. All yours.
Hi, we're Contract Guy. We make complex investment data into more accessible and more powerful for everyone. Before we go any further, what do you know about South Korea? And BTS, Blackpink, yes, we all love them. However, what if I told you that Korea has the highest proportion of the retail investors around the world, with more than 15 million active retail users, representing 68% of the whole economic population? They generated $8.1 trillion annually selling, buying stocks. But the problem is the actual financial data and existing tools are too complex for them to when they're making investment decisions. So they tend to rely more on rumors and gut feeling like us, end up with the losing money. Sad, right? So our team wanted to make it right by making complex simpler. Quantitative AI makes it that simple with the one single index per stock for 10,000 stocks listed in the United States and in Korea every morning. And you can utilize the AI trading timing like an expert without any hassle. And also you can utilize the automated trading platform, and bulk ordering system allow you to trade 300 stocks at a time in our platform. So our business model is quite simple. $31 per month, which is almost double to its Netflix. Quite expensive, right? But still, people pay it. So we have generated actually monthly monthly BEP, having generated $65,000 a month. With our success and growth, we got the fund from the global scale investors like Plug and Play in Silicon Valley I visited, and Good Things companies in London. Along with the 3 top brokerage firms in Korea and local market, we are now in the progress of trading integration with the 9 American brokerage firms like Robinhood and Webull. So that means next year, people in the United States can trade at our platform when they're having their own account. To sum up, financial data and extensive tools like Google and Goldman Sachs and Bloomberg are too complex before. It's only have belonged for institutional traders, not for you and your family. That's where we're building Quantitative AI. My co-founders and I are capable of doing it, as we have an experience in international professional traders and analysts. So we believe that we're going to become a Bloomberg for retail investors, where this is where the individuals become more profitable and smart. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard. So now I know that I can have AI do my trading for me as well. Next up, we have Protos Labs, also a plug-and-play portfolio company. They are a Singapore insurtech startup that use a threat-based approach to transform the way enterprises and insurers manage their cyber risks. The floor is yours, Valerie.
Hi, everyone. I am Valerie. I'm the account executive for Protos Labs. Just to share a little bit about us, we were founded in 2021 by former cyber leaders from Booz Allen Hamilton, both Joel and Simeon. So our vision is to uplift organizations' cyber resilience against the increasing cyber threats by being one of the first insurtechs in Asia Pacific, but also combining that with cyber risk mitigation software. We are accoladed by the cybersecurity regulator in Singapore, but at the same time, we're also proud to share that Lloyd's of London accoladed us just last year. So right now, we have presence in Singapore, Indonesia, and Malaysia. We work very closely with some large enterprises, government agencies, and also, of course, with cyber insurance companies such as MSIG. And to share a bit more about what we do, as mentioned, we are the intersection between risk mitigation software and insurance. So what that means is that we do vulnerability scans to help leaders make informed decisions about their risks and vulnerabilities. And further to that, we also pair that with cyber insurance to transfer the risk should a breach happen. So how are we different? We're different in 4 main ways. So first of all, we're not just cyber experts, but we're also experts in insurance, and we specifically in the cyber industry. And second, as mentioned, we not just offer risk mitigation solution, but we also offer how to further minimize losses by incorporating insurance. And in terms of traction and growth, we are one of the first cyber patents in Singapore. And not just that, we've seen a triple in revenue since 2022 and have a net revenue retention rate of 500%. And I think most importantly, we're tailored to the Asian market. So in terms of reliability, efficiency, we understand the culture and language that is important to deliver to our clients. So come by our booth and connect with us on LinkedIn. And happy to share more about how we can help, cyber resilience in your company. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. With all things going digital, I think cyber risk is a big portion, something that we should all look out for. Next up, last but not the least, we have Telescope Technologies, the financial wellness tool that combines legacy planning and asset aggregation with AI-powered insights. Floor is yours, Telescope.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'll talk more to you as individuals than as people I'm raising fund from. So we have 5 retail banks. We have 17 private banks. We have many wealth managers, 4 new age ones that serve us with broking or wealth management. On the insurance side, we have 7 brokers and 160,000 financial advisors that serve us. But yet we don't know how much money we have. We only have a vague idea of our insurance coverage. Just 1 in 20 of us have any plans for our legacy. But we all have stories about a legacy gone wrong or unclaimed money or family dispute. This is because the legacy planning process is absolutely arcane. It hasn't evolved in the last 100 years. Worse even, it is the advertisement that we see from all of the banks and wherever that say legacy planning or estate planning belongs to somebody with a certain watch or a yacht. Now, given the number of financial institutions that are targeting this segment, we can take a pause and only imagine how much is the TAM. At Telescope, we have only one mission: to help individuals and families encapsulate and track anything they have their name on, and that is the starting point of financial literacy or financial wellness. Now, what happens if things are not tracked? Just in Singapore, 8,000 insurance policies unclaimed. I understand 12% of CPF is unclaimed, and the word where our assets go into government coffers is called escheatment. Now, this is not a Singapore problem, this is a global problem. So how do people track today? The issue is there are no tools that are fit for purpose. It is either Excel or pen and paper. And most of the users that we spoke to are ready to pay. So now in terms of numbers, how big is the TAM? If I just take Singapore, Australia, England, Germany, and Hong Kong, 165 million people that we can target, and in 10 years, we can have obtainable revenue of 1.8 billion. Now, even if we get 10% of that, you can imagine how big this can grow. So revenue model is we are at the convergence of insurer, wealth manager, and legacy planner. And we work in partnership with all 3 of them to get individuals and their families to have a plan for their finances. Now, what does it entail? It has 2 things. One is asset aggregation, anything, anywhere in the world, anywhere. The second part is the vault, and the vault has the anonymized part that has all the documents, and then the release mechanism, such that my information can be released to whom I want to be when the time comes. It is my personal BCP, and I think all of us deserve that. So now that's the team, 2 of us, Martin and I. We have been working together. This is the 4th startup we are working together, but we are not alone. We also have a panel of advisors. Fabian, 34 years in insurance. Shiadan, Google Design, she's in the Silicon Valley. And most importantly, Jeff Leeming, who guides us on InfoSec. With that, I come to an end to my pitch. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chandrima. Maybe it is time for me to share my Excel of portfolios with my wife, Thank you so much for all the startups presenting. A big round of applause for all the startups from the financial services segment. Next up, I would pass the mic and the stage to Michelle, who would be talking about startups from the enterprise AI segment. Thank you so much, everyone.